We are working on becoming scientifically literate with psychological research, and in this module, we are focusing on scientific writing and summarizing empirical research reports. The learning objective for this lesson is to write a summary of a research article using scientific writing and APA format that summarizes psychological research. Once again, just a quick review of the components to becoming scientifically literate with psychological research. Read and evaluate media reports, find original research reports, read and understand original research reports, critique original research reports, and write scientifically to communicate your findings. If you remember from the last module, we answered this question. In psychology and other sciences, empirical research studies are published in peer-reviewed journals. Other psychologists read the articles and critique the studies, and then use those studies to propose new studies that will answer the research question in another way or answer a new research question that stems from the original research study. This is how the science of psychology advances, building on one another's work by answering research questions that arise from the research. When proposing research studies, psychologists write literature reviews. They read multiple articles about research studies, summarize and critique them, and then propose a new study that builds on all of the studies they read, summarized, and critiqued. We're now going to work on summarizing research articles. Don't forget that plagiarism occurs when an author uses passages from an original source without giving the original source credit. Make sure, as you're writing your summary, you are careful to cite the original source and paraphrase the original work. Now that you have read both media reports representing secondary sources and an empirical article representing a primary source, you have probably noticed a difference in the writing style a psychologist uses when reporting results in a journal article compared to the writing a reporter uses in a magazine to report the results of the psychologist's study. I want to review with you the similarities and differences of the writing styles in primary, that is, in the empirical article, and secondary, that is, the media report, sources. First, the tone. What is the writer's attitude toward the audience? Is it formal or informal? In the primary source, it's formal. The writing focuses on the previous research and the research study, as though the author is talking with colleagues. In the secondary sources, the writer's tone and attitude is informal. The writing is personal and makes the reader feel like he or she knows the author on a personal level and that this is a chat among friends. Word choice. Does the author use slang? What kind of terminology is used? In the primary source, there is no slang used, and the terminology is scientific. In the secondary source, the author's word choice is informal. No sophisticated terminology, but words one might use in speaking with friends. Sentence structure. Are the sentences long and complex or short and simple? In the primary sources, the sentences vary in length. Some are simple and others are more complex. In secondary sources, the sentences are a mix of short and complex. Parenthetical additions to sentences suggest informality. Brevity. Does the author describe things simply or with many adjectives and figurative language? In primary sources, the author describes things simply and relies upon scientific terms to convey meaning as succinctly as possible. In the secondary sources, the author describes things with colorful adjectives and may use popular culture references. Other work and sources. Does the author use many quotes or are other sources paraphrased? How does the author refer to the other sources? In primary sources, The author does not use quotes, but refers to the other work by using the author's last names and the year the study was published. A list of references is provided. In the secondary sources, the author often uses quotes to describe a researcher's study and results. The author of the original research is referred to by full name and their affiliation is provided. Citations. Does the author cite other sources, and how are those sources cited? In primary sources, the sources are cited using APA. In secondary sources, sources are cited by describing the researcher and the journal in which the article was published. To write scientifically, do you need to use lots of fancy words and sentence structures? Scientific writing does not dictate that you use fancy words or complex sentence structure. Write clearly, making your writing readable, and make sure that you accurately reflect the information in the article. Why is it important to know how to write in scientific writing style? The answer is to communicate credibly and respectively within psychology. Now for your assignment. Last module, you completed the research report worksheet. I want you to do that again, but with a new article. From that completed worksheet, carefully summarize the article in your own words. Cite appropriately within your writing in APA style and write using the scientific writing style. I have provided you with a listing of the tables that we just reviewed, as well as a more detailed research report rubric that you can use as a guide. This assignment will be graded using the research report rubric and is worth 20 points. Again, that detailed research report rubric is on the timeline of Web Study.